Okay, perfect. So thank you. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are going to see if other people are going to join us in the meantime. This is the InDICEs workshop co-organized by Michael Culture and KU Leuven. We have Corinne Stan-Schneider from MCA and Fred from Frederick Truyen from KU Leuven. So the idea today is really to show you the possibility of using this self-assessment tool that is made in the framework of the InDICEs project, of which Dr. Truyen is going to talk about. The idea is to give you the tools and to use it, and also give you practical recommendations, starting from the things that we are going to find out during the session. We are going to have a general introduction of the project, and then we are going to have a Mentimeter session that should cover the use of the self-assessment tool. And then we're going to be divided in two breakout rooms, one about digitization and then another one about participation, based on what you said in the form that you filled. And then going back to the plenary session to discuss about the results. The tools that we are going to use today are Mentimeter, and I don't know if you're familiar with this tool, but anyway, it's very simple, and we are going to give you the link to use it, and Miro board to brainstorm together on this digital platform. So before leaving you the floor, Fred, I'm going to introduce you. Dr. Truyen is a professor at the Faculty of Arts of KU Leuven. He publishes on digitization, photographic heritage, and e-learning. He's experienced in data modeling and metadata development for image database in the cultural historical field. And he currently directs the program of the Master in Digital Humanities. In the Cultural Studies Master Program, he teaches online publishing and digital cultural heritage. And his main research focus is the digital transformation roadmap for cultural heritage institutions. And he's here since he was responsible for the development of requirements and guidelines for the InDICEs self-assessment tool. So thank you, Fred, for being here. And I'm going to leave you the floor, and I'm going to let you share your slides.
So thank you, Marco, for hosting me here and giving me the opportunity to talk to you about what we did in this InDICEs project. I will start sharing my screen, and I see that it works very smoothly. And guide you through what we will be discussing today. So InDICEs is a Horizon 2020 project with several partners led by ICCU in Italy, and which involves quite some networks like Michael Culture Association, but also the Europeana, NEMO, the Organization of European Museums, the European Fashion Heritage Organization, etc. So we responded to a call from the European Commission, in fact, to continue the work that was done in Enumerate to gather data on the status of digitization, but then more from a relation to the digital single market, to the idea that we, the cultural heritage institutions, are providers of a kind of raw materials for a value chain. But of course, what we responded with is a project in which we started from how we in the sector see our mission, which is a public mission, and where we see this not so much as sharing raw materials, but as sharing cultural heritage, of course, with citizens. So we wanted to start from that background. And our idea was that instead of running annual surveys, it would be better that the sector learns to document their own performance in the digital sphere in relation to their mission. So encouraging institutions to register how they reach their goals through the digital. And that was the basic concept. So here you see how it is worded here. The idea was also to look at economic impact, but we interpreted that much more broadly as simply impact that heritage institutions can have. And we all know that most heritage institutions in Europe are non-profits or not-for-profit organizations. So the impact is touching people's lives, touching communities, empowering them, etc. Here you see the different participants in the project. So there were also some technology partners involved, and the Polish Center Cifroje, who thinks a lot about value chains in the cultural sector, etc. And of course, my culture association. A lot of research has been done by FBK, the Italian university that where Pierluigi Sacco was teaching anyway. Now, I will not stay too long here. It's from our original proposals. But the whole idea is that we were inspired by the work of Pierluigi Sacco on what he calls Culture 3.0. And in fact, it has to do with the fact, with looking at the main regimes of cultural production. And Pierluigi discerns, and his colleagues discern 3 different modes of operation. The longest that is already there is the era of patronage, where elites are deciding what is valuable, what is shared, what is kept as heritage. And from these elites came the institutions, the museums, the libraries, the archives, and they got this mandate to decide what should be kept. Often this was coined in legal arrangements, etc. But that is what we call the patronage, where in fact a minority decides what is valuable and what should be considered art, heritage, etc. And that still exists today. There are still influencers, there are still curators, there are still people who teach others to appreciate what is art and what is heritage. But then, of course, with the industrial age came the culture 2.0, namely the mass production of cultural goods, the reproduction, the idea that we could give access by copying art, culture, etc. And the web, of course, has accelerated this for our sector. And so the digital collections, etc., mass digitization, all these kind of things. But what we see emerging more and more is that the availability of these digital collections inspires heritage institutions to look back at their original missions and to try to understand how they can come to a renewed interpretation of their mission by improving participation. Access leads to the possibility of active participation co-creation, co-curation. We see a lot of crowdfunding, crowdsourcing also. So that is what we see now in this prosumer world of Culture 3.0. And we wanted to convince the funding authorities, whether they are local, national, or European, to measure the impact of heritage institutions according to this participation. And not just ticket sales or revenue or whatsoever, annual balance, but really looking at who is participating, how do we reach all communities that are relevant, do we need to approach other communities, etc. So a kind of inclusiveness thing. So very much a stress on digitization in light of access, to build a public space, an international public space, and to strengthen the level of reuse of cultural contents, and with a strong idea of an ethical dimension. And so what the project wants to do is to inform policy makers both at the EU and national level. We will speak on the Czech event of Europeana on Friday, and tomorrow there will be a conference where policies of InDICEs will be discussed. That is it. Now, to come to the SAT, we built a participatory space, and I will maybe already put the link in the chat so that you can start discovering this environment and maybe make an account already, because you can sign up there. So I'll come back here and I will put a link in the chat. So here you find a participatory space of InDICEs, and it contains a repository of data. We are building really rich collections of data that you can find there, and reports on participatory practices. We are about to launch an integrated visual analytical dashboard where you can yourself monitor trends that you want to follow. It's a very interactive tool, but it's not there yet, so I cannot show it, unfortunately. And then there is the self-assessment tool. I will show the link in a few moments. And the whole idea is, so what we sold to the European Commission is, it is better that we decentralize the monitoring of participation performance, and that we learn institutions to keep track of their participative activities, to have a kind of very detailed view on who is participating when, to what, and for what purpose, document that, so that they can then report to more central surveys, etc. So it came from a self-assessment in the eyes of the Commission for, hold your breath, readiness to the digital single market, to something that is more acquainted to our hearing, namely a focus on the digital transformation of the sector, focus on non-for-profit activities from a participatory perspective, and where part of our mission is that the digital requires you to network. It offers you the possibility to network, but it also requires you to network, and that is why organizations like MCA, Europeana, NEMO, etc. are so important in the sector, and that we didn't want to send a survey to institutions directly, but that we want to work through networks. This has to do with our view that a good digital strategy tries to marry capability, which is making sure that you have the right staff with the right competencies, the right skills for the digital world, with capacity, namely making sure that you can deliver, that you have the scale, that you have the power to do things. And together, capability plus capacity gives you the performance that you can have. And this performance then should be monitored and I would say that a monitored performance on participatory practices is the best way to do sustainable heritage work. That is the idea. Now, this slide I will skip. It was just a message for the Commission that we are. But the hurdles are important. We saw from many studies that there is a lack of data consolidation in the sector. The sector should keep more data on what they are doing. We also noticed, and our partner Nemo also pointed us to that within mid-sized to larger heritage institutions, there is often not really an internal alignment of the digital processes. You have digitization for collection management, preservation. You have digitization for participation. You have the marketing, you have the website. And it's often totally different people who work on that and who do not have a concerted strategy. And I ask each year my students of Heritage to look into digital strategies that are published, and we still have the same analysis. So it is the digital strategy of a digitization department, or it lacks participation, or it lacks inclusion, or it lacks a cyclic vision, etc. So that is what we see. Now you can already read a lot of documents from InDICEs on our website. So indicesculture.eu, and you can join it from the link that I posted in the chat. Now, for the SAT, how did we go about? We did an overview of what exists. And there was the Enumerate Observatory of Europeana with the different Enumerate surveys. Maybe some of you have participated in these Enumerate surveys. But there are, for example, Collections Trust in the UK, who manage the Spectrum standard. They adapted this Enumerate survey to the Spectrum users. So there are many institutions using Collections Trust. There is the Digital Culture Compass, very nice. You should have a look. I will make sure that the slides are distributed. Even big ICT players like Microsoft entered the game. And Microsoft has a whole suite now of managing all aspects ICT of heritage institutions. And then you have local tools like the Belgian tool Digitale Maturiteit from our colleague Hans van der Linden, who many of you know from Europeana, which is indeed really a self-test, a self-assessment test, but it's in Dutch. So not really maybe your cup of tea. And then there is an initiative that was originated in Nemo, which is the Museums of Impact. And there is, of course, the impact framework of Europeana that I should have mentioned also, because we are now aligning our self-assessment tool more and more to this impact story. So we will probably integrate this story of the self-assessment on digitization in the work we do on impact at that level. Here you see a slide on Digital Culture Compass. Now, so I explained already this, the three domains of cultural production. What also played in our mind is what we call the transition X-curve, namely, how do you go from one mode of operation to another? That needs a change management, and in change management, this X model is very often used, like in Industry 4.0, etc. It's a slide that you often see, where they say, well, if you want to accelerate new initiatives, then you also need to destabilize the current situation. It's the same they say about climate change, that you have to destabilize well-established modes of energy exploitation, etc., to be able to do new things. And it's hard, but that's the reality. And so one of our core messages to museums is, try to proactively think how your human resource management will look like. What are the functions that you imagine for the future, and how will you integrate them? Because your staff will not grow exponentially. So maybe things that you are doing today, you will not be able to do in the future. So that is and to give a nice example, and you will find it also on our participatory space. We did a nice exercise where we asked people to think about new jobs in the sector and to describe those. And you'll find it maybe that I show it in a moment also. And that's really what you need to think about in a management board. Really, what will be the new jobs that we want to attract, that we want to develop, like an audience manager, like a social media expert, whatsoever. A community manager, maybe, I think that will become important. A digital collections manager, etc. I will not go because I need to watch the time, but Marco will help me to say when I have to shut up and go to the next phase, but we need to speed up a bit. There are different areas we think that we should try to monitor our impact on, and I think you can directly see that it calls a bit to the non-for-profit idea of the mission of heritage institutions and welfare, sustainability, also the integration, and that's maybe something that has come to the fore lately, how the human heritage relates to the natural heritage and the ecological environment. Now, what was one of the core concepts of our self-assessment tool, which is in two parts, in fact, is that there are two cycles. There is the classic inside-out cycle, where you start to digitize your collections. You think about, oh, I need competent staff to do so, I need expertise, I need to go digital, I need the right software, solutions, storage, web publishing software, etc. And then you realize once you have these digital collections, hey, they can become an asset. And it's not just a catalog. I can make an exhibition with my digital collection. I can make interactions with my digital collection. I can do a game online with virtual museum visitors with my digital collection. So you start to understand that there is an asset management there, and you need, again, new ICT competencies to do so. Think about the Rijksstudio. Many of you know that this tool set from the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands. It's called Rijksstudio. And you have a lot of apps there and tools to manage digital objects. And I think many institutions are looking at that kind of things. But that's only half a part of the story. The other part is starting to think from your users, the public, the digital audience, and how can they be active, contributive, how can they have a part in the co-creation workflow. So it's a totally different workflow where you are not only training the capacity building of your staff, but also training the audience. You teach the audience. It's not enough to say you can help us with crowdsourcing. You need to teach people how they can really do so in a good way. So you will explain a lot about your collections and how to do metadata, etc. So don't forget that. Train the audience, not only your staff. And when you then have these online collections with participation, you will see that these communities are not unisono. They are not homogeneous. They often have different views, antagonistic views, incompatible views, and you need to manage these communities. That, I think, is the least understood in the sector, that once you push your digital collections online and you invite people to interact, then people will start to discuss. And the first who noticed that are those with colonial collections. I can assure you that they have their hands full to negotiate with the very active communities who want to engage with their collections. And that was a wake-up call. Very happy we published our colonial collection online, and then the boomerang came back in the face. Then a lot of massage work needed to be done, and rightly so. So no problem. So again, these two slides I will not. But you have a kind of culture 2.0 digital workflow, and then the culture 3.0 workflow. That's it. So I already pointed you to this link, the participatory space. If you now want, if you made a login and you want to participate, wait, I'll put the link in the chat, because I think otherwise you will not see what I'm. So I put the link. If you have the link here. So here you will see the actual satellite, and I will again share a screen. It's still sharing. Yeah. Do you still see my screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You see 2022 with satellite, etc. Okay. So this is the satellite, and if you have a login, you can actually fill it out. It contains 4 parts, but it's a very light version. It really wants to see where you stand towards these basic concepts. The real SAT we ran in the summer. Was a bit of a technical issue with it, we must confess. But that led to the new report for Enumerate and will be published in the fall. It has been sent to the Commission already, the results of that. And so that you will that will be reopened since we learned a lot from our launch in the summer. We are now working hard on a better version, and that will be a quite long questionnaire of about 50 questions in 2 parts again, digitization and participation. But you can already start doing this. The reason why I'm not using it now is that the results need to be processed offline, and that we cannot do immediately. But there are 4 forms that you can work with and share with your colleagues, because that is certainly what you want to hear this SAT. And you see the kind of question, where do you think your organization is working, on what level, where do you would like to work more on? Some people say at this moment we are in culture 2.0, we are implementing really large digital collections, and then we want to use that, etc. And then, how do you think you measure participation? Because that is the challenge. How do you measure then your success? That's the idea. Okay, that is the sum. Okay, then second part before we go to the Miro is the Mentimeter, and I hope this is the correct link. I will copy the link address and paste it here, but I need to activate it first. I will maybe first do that in my...
I already copied everything, Fred, so you can just take care of the of the Mentimeter. It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
Yeah, okay. And I will activate it because it must run, of course, and then I'll present it. Okay, and I'll see whether I can present it on the right screen. So I'll go to, do you see it? No, wait, I'll go back and I'll do, it's open, okay. Do you see it here on the screen? Yes, the results?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you go to menti.com or to the link which is in the chat. This is the code, and you can reply. You can also feel free to open your mic and to comment on this. So, let me see if I look to the participants. We are with 12, so with 9 I already have most votes, maybe 1 or 2 missing, and then then okay, I think we have the votes. Okay, so I see that indeed we are here, but in contrast to previous sessions that I did, you are quite advanced. You are already in this participatory. That's also to do a bit with the mission of microculture. I think that you are indeed looking at this culture 3.0, and but honestly, most institutions in Europe are really now still in this phase of digitizing collections and putting these as online catalogs available online in open access. And so that, okay. And then what would you like to focus more on? Now, I think that in this case, it will be quite clear that for some answers.
Are the results as usual, in your opinion, as other workshops you have done, or?
No, in the other workshops, it was mostly Culture 2.0 where they were. And in the Nemo workshop, it was even Culture 1.0. Well, many organizations, certainly when you look at smaller to mid-size organizations, it's still the quest to be able to deliver quality of collection presentation and collection management. So yeah.
I see. Because I mean, the way it is put, it's like it is felt like a progression from culture 1.0 to the 2.0 and then 3.0. But I mean, I imagine some cultural association that could think, okay, I want to focus more on this part that is less digitized, but could interest the association I work for.
Yeah, you are totally right. These three modes coexist. So as I said, the fact that that somehow an elite or a curator or a more educated decides on curation is still the norm and will stay the norm. And it's also the norm on YouTube. And these are these YouTube influencers, of course. They are these. So these things coexist indeed. And depending on the mission of the organization, you see indeed a shift where more network organizations are now focusing a lot on participation and inclusion, whereas the institutions are still struggling with mass digitization. That is also how Europe sees this, that the member states fund the digitization and that the innovation part is then funded by transnational funding mechanisms. That's indeed the idea. Okay, do I have a next slide here? Yeah, now it becomes more difficult. How do you measure your organizational impact? So thinking about the goals of your organization, think about how do we want to measure whether we are doing well. Is it, and I will read it out because it's quite small, is it the visitor numbers? Are it social media followers? The number of participants in special events or activities? Are you tracking the diversity of the audience? Are you tracking the number of network collaborations? or are you tracking the number of co-creative activities also, or do you do something else?
Sorry, Fred, you meant only on digital activities or all the
digital
activities?
In fact, digital. Yeah, in fact,
Okay.
I mean digital. Yeah. And so what we see, we already have 10 from the 11 answers. We see indeed that some governments are now asking to track the diversity, like the Flemish government, because a very good example is our classic music ensembles. We have top European top ensembles in classical music. They always have a full house. So there is no problem with the attendance, and when it's physical, no problem with the attendance. But when I'm there, I'm the youngest, and I'm 60 years old. And so the problem is who is participating. And more governments want to know how inclusive are you? Are seniors involved? Are juniors involved? Are people from different ethnicities involved, etc.? That becomes important. But I see that you are indeed already tracking a lot of activity participation, and that is what is requested certainly now. Okay, and then I'll see whether we are. If you look at your own digital strategy, I hope that we are not running out of time. We will keep at least an half an hour for the Miro board. So the digital strategy of your organization there is none. It is in the works. It's more inside out oriented, or it is focusing on participation and outreach, or it is a quite comprehensive digital strategy. What is your idea? And there, when we did the Europeana Common Culture Project, in 2017, there was a report claiming that all member states had a published digital strategy for the cultural sector. And we desperately sought to find those digital strategies. And in fact, only a few countries really had such a published digital strategy. And so, and the same is for organizations. There are but I see that in your case, most have a strategy, but it's indeed a classic digitization strategy, which is as expected. But we are thinking that the new generation of plans will be more comprehensive, because once you have your digital assets, you start thinking as an organization, what can I do with it? What will be the next step? That's certainly the case. And then I would like our strategy to be, we can be very short on that indeed, but what you would like to be. It could be that you say, oh, but for us the problem is the internal alignment, internal workflows also. I don't know. But see that. And so, based on these concepts, we changed the enumerate survey. And so we will see that almost half of the questions in the long enumerate survey are new questions relating to participation, to social media, to tracking of information, following trends, etc. That is the idea. Okay, I will make the results available also. Now we are with a small group, but I make. So I think that is my last question here, and this gives us a good time to move to the second part, which is the Miro exercise. So I think How would you monitor? I propose to skip this question, but maybe think about it yourself. How would you, if you try to integrate in the digital strategy that you develop, immediately the idea, and how will I check whether, so how will I check what I promise? Make sure that I can, because we want as a sector to convince the funding authorities to take into account these parameters. And if we can show the statistics, we can convince them that it is useful and that, okay. So we'll stop here because otherwise this exercise will take too long. I'll skip that and I will go to the Miro board. I will open put it here, enlarge a bit the screen. Maybe it's not necessary to split in two groups. What do you think?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we are enough. Do you want to still have a round table just to see who's in the room?
Yes, that is really interesting, and we have time for that indeed.
Yeah, I think that is important. If everyone can just take, I will give you the floor personally. I will call you so we can go in order, and you just say your name, your organization, and about maybe you can say a few words about your digital strategy in your organization. Really brief. Corinne, sorry, I will start from you, and I will ask you to present yourself and who do you work for?
Hello, my name is Corinne Stenschneider, and I'm the coordinator of the Microculture European network. So we are working on all about digital cultural content, not only cultural heritage, but large part of it, let's say. So we are also the aggregator for Europeana for what concerns European museums, and we are engaged in several European projects focusing on inclusion, climate change, fight against illicit traffic of cultural goods, and other things like this.
Thank you.
Thank you, William.
Marcia?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm running social media for two organizations. One is REMED, the Spanish Network of Museums and Digital Strategy, and the other one is the ICON, the ICON Committee for Audiovisuals, New Technologies and Social Media. And I basically curating or creating content about events or exhibitions I visit. And also in the case of REMED, we have recently the annual conference in an hybrid way, on site and online. So it was publishing about the conference and then, doing live tweeting about the conference and so on. So the idea is to evaluate all these things, you need to know a tool like Google Analytics. And in my case, I have been doing some tutorials, but it's not enough. You need to work with someone that can learn you more about the tool and how to use it properly and how to configure the tool to have more data. Because if you go directly to the analytics with the code I have in the website of the REMED, for example, I can have some data, but the minimum one. But if you can configure this tool properly, then you can do it better. And in addition, nowadays there is a problem that nowadays is the universal analytics, but in a few months, I think is going to be a new one, is Google Analytics 4. So it's not training about this new tool. So how can you do it? And as a volunteer, I can use, tools that you need to pay for these tools to use it, because I'm a volunteer, so I can put the money from my own wallet, So I think this is a problem. And I have been talking with so many people in conferences, and they said people in the museum sector don't have this training about using these analytic tools. Can be Google Analytics or can be Metricool for social media or things like that. That there are sometimes tools that you need to pay to use it, and then if you don't have this money to pay, you can use it. You don't know how they work, and then if you go to a job interview, oh, you don't know this tool, it's compulsory to know it. Please let me show me how is this tool. I can learn it, but this is like a barrier, I think. But I think it's more necessary in the sector to have this training, or because it's essential. If you have more data about how is your activity, you can evaluate better, and then you can think in improving your strategy.
That is the reason, indeed.
A never-ending circle.
That is indeed why we organize these capacity building trainings on specific tools. And analytics is a very good suggestion. We didn't go through everybody, I think. Marco, the next.
No. I will just a quick presentation by Anna Maria, for example.
I am a researcher. Really, I've been teaching digital library courses for many years, more than 20. Now I am retired. I continue to be involved with the university. Parma is my institution. I have a contract and continue to be very passionate for digital library issue. And so I am still involved in some European project. In the last 2 years, we have been engaged in gamification and using games for improving learning, because we are in the university and our users are students. But sometimes I am involved in other projects as external advisor related to digital library too.
Thank you. Maria Teresa?
Okay, I am working either for Michael Association, but here today I am participating as ICCU, where I have still a collaboration. ICCU, which is the coordinator of the project, in the last year had several problems, especially with the reduction of personnel. So this is critical for all activities, and but it worked on a big platform which is called Alphabetica, to make it possible to interconnect all the databases managed by ICCU. From the point of view of analytic, I think that the institution is still very traditional, using, of course, efficient tools, but very traditional and not yet so open to not so open for more innovative social activities, but this is in the role of the institutions. It is not a museum or a library which is targeting every day different audiences. So it will never achieve 3.0, I think.
Okay. I don't know. And we have someone from the Volume Foundation. I don't know exactly who's there, but if you want to take the floor.
There are two of us, actually.
Hello. Hi.
Greetings from Ukraine. My name is Anna Danivchuk, and this is Marta Sidoruk, who is our project manager. And we represent a non-governmental organization in Ukraine, very much interested in working in the sphere of preservation and popularization of both tangible and intangible cultural heritage. We have one digital project that was supported by Creative Europe and currently working on its development. And today, Ukraine more than ever understands the importance of going digital, and that's why we are very much interested in all those tools, resources, and strategies of how to make our society more into digital cultural heritage, how to come closer to the standards of the European Union, as we do hope that one day Ukraine will join the European family. And more than ever do we understand how important it is to digitize archives, cultural, architectural objects, and all of that. So we are very grateful for the information. It is not our first time with InDICEs presentation, actually, and I remember that after the first one, we've got lots of notes to use in our project also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's nice to have you here. Do we want to continue with the presentations, or do we want to switch to the Miro board so that we can start the work, Fred? Fred, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. I know Ismo, who is here, I think, but Elena, I'm not sure that I know Elena Vasilaki. And Marcia was, I of course know also very well. So
yeah, Ismo and Elena.
Hi everybody. Hi Fred. Yes. So hi. Sorry, my video is not working, so you can't see. But I'm from Finnish Heritage Agency, and I'm head of our picture collections. And well, to put it shortly, as we are well doing at the moment mostly this digitizing or digital strategies from inside out, but we have had lots of different projects with participation and participatory processes, and we are just now writing our new strategy, and I think it will include this full circle. We have lots of things from this outside in, but it's not full. So I would say that we are doing this old-fashioned way still, but we have been doing lots and lots of digitizing activities, and so it's really interesting to see what we will come to.
okay, thank you. I think Elena is the last one that we didn't hear, no, or am I right?
Also,
Or Lucia Rita also. Lucia Rita, yes.
should I introduce myself or Elena first?
No, yourself, Lucia.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Lucia Rita Nunziata. I'm a research assistant at STAR-C, Science and Technology in Archaeology and Culture Center at the Cyprus Institute, a no-profit organization, a private no-profit organization in Cyprus, Nicosia, which has also an educational graduate school. We mainly work on conservation, preservation, and valorization of cultural heritage. We are involved in European projects such as 4CH, Arken, and so we work on data documentation, 3D digitalization of cultural heritage, and yes, so
And also on the fight against illicit traffic, we are partners together.
yes, exactly.
And we were kindly hosted in the conference Euromed. I was unfortunately not able to be there physically. But, did we have all participants?
I think we are missing just Elena. Elena and also Marta. We didn't hear from you. So let's go with your presentation, and then we can start the Miro board.
Okay, so I'm Marta and I'm from Poland, working in a Gojki Free Art Incubator, the new institution on the north part of Poland, but in an old villa. So our headquarters is 120 years old. So all these things connected with culture, history, and so on is on our daily duties. And I'm responsible for communication and also for networking. So what you have already told us about digitalization, about this Internet 3.0 and the culture 3.0 and so on is really important for me. And we would like to have this this whole strategy actually right now.
Great. Thank you. So, if we are not missing anyone, we can. Can you just say and tell me if the Miro link that Fred sends works?
Can you join the Miro board? There is a password that you have to fill in. That's MCA workshop. I will post it again in the chat. That is the password. So normally you should be able to access it. We'll test if the link works here. No, wait. There's a problem to copy the link correctly. Let me do yet another try. The problem is it doesn't, so the link is not correct in the chat, but if you select it in the chat, because it lacks the equal sign and the slash is part of the link.
I mean, I have it. When I click on it, I go directly to the Miro board.
Yeah, does it work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then if for everyone it works, I can quickly explain. So we have two parts.
No, I can't enter in the tool.
Okay, can you do that, Marta? Can you enter?
404 mistake.
Okay, I'll try to copy again.
No, it's
in
because
the meantime,
you have to copy paste all the. I mean,
the whole link.
Code.
You have to copy paste it because it.
Yes.
In the chat, it is not correctly rendered.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it again.
But somehow the software doesn't interpret it right.
Yes, so you have to copy. Yes, I don't know why, but the last two signs, yeah, you have to just copy paste and then go online. I had the same error. Yeah.
So you see my screen here. I will type the link here in my screen. Then you. So the full link is. Wait, if I can copy it.
No, mistake.
The full link is this way. It includes the is sign and the slash. And that's a problem because the chat doesn't correctly represent it. So if you click on the link in the chat, you get an error. But if you add then the equal sign and the slash, it should work. And that's the idea. It's a problem with the chat software that doesn't. And so I will delete this. So I can maybe quickly explain what the idea is here. We have 4 boards, and the first place is on digitization. What are your main problems now?
How is the password to join?
That is MCA workshop.
MCA workshop.
Okay.
I will send it again.
Yeah. No. I see in the chat.
Yeah.
No.
So the idea is you can, in Miro, you can with your right mouse, if you click on it, you can move the board. with the left mouse, you can select a post-it. You can draw it somewhere. And if you click on
I'm
it...
in Miro. I can
okay,
see.
good. If you click on it, you can start writing something. And what I want to hear from you is what are your problems. So Marta already explained that her problem was that she wanted more sophisticated analytics, and that this needs really experience. So that's interesting for us to know, because we often, in the context of our organizations, are planning workshops on training sessions for professionals. So that is certainly a problem that could be mentioned. So the idea is, if you want to have a new post-it, you can choose one from the stack and move it somewhere. Or you can just press N on the keyboard. N will open normally the post-its, and then you can choose a color and choose the post-it you see. And so that is the idea. And so indeed we can. And please make sure that that you don't drag the. So to just move in the frames, press the right mouse button, and then you can you can move the. Otherwise, you just move everything. That's a bit. Let's see here. Oh, because frame 4 has had an accident. But we will work on the first one. And what are your problems with digitization? The current workflow is too slow, and I think that is a frustration in many institutions, that technologies are moving very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And for a museum with a limited staff of ICT staff at hand, I think a mid-size museum, they don't have 3 or 4 ICT people in a help desk, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's why in Remed conference we were talking about that small or medium museums in Spain, they don't have enough people to do something digital. You know, they are many times doing with their own phone, like me, not having money from the institution to have a particular phone to do this in the museum, and then you left your job and you left the mobile in the museum, and it's next day you will see the more things, and that's the problem. No training to do it, no resources to do it, or people, they want to do it but they don't have time. They are doing so many things because the teams are small. With the crisis in 2008, it was reduced. People is retiring. People are working there. They are maybe in their 40s, in their 50s, and they are not digital at all. So there are so different problematics in the sector. And
that is why we are advocating that two things can happen. Regional authorities should organize networks, regional networks, and if they don't, we encourage the institutions to network. And that's why we have organizations like MCA, like NEMO, like Europeana, etc., who help you to self-organize and to stimulate you to take the steps. If you are in a region and you know that in the next village there is also a museum, go there, make an agreement, and try to put your efforts together. We were talking with Photo Consortium with the Musei Senesi in the Siena region in Italy. And it's the same problem, all very small museums, often with just a guard there.
Yeah.
There are museums where there is just a guard with a key. Of course, they will not digitize, but you can make a regional network And if the government doesn't start it yourself.
Yeah, we start this, but we are all volunteers working in this network and joining people and then organizing webinars and doing something, catching people that is working in different museums, that is training people in some webinars, but is something, is better than nothing, but it's not enough. And then people like me are working as a volunteers and we don't have money, and I'm unemployed. I'm looking for a job in the sector. I would like to do something I'm doing now, but being paid.
But
and that's the problem.
Join a larger network. So make your local network and join a larger network. ICT doesn't work the other way. So if you go digital, you need to upscale. It is impossible.
Yeah.
Then you're at the consumer level with your phone, but that will not work.
Yeah.
Everything that is ICT needs a network interaction. So that is one thing. And what do we see else? Working with audiences in our planning phases. I think that's very interesting too. That we see now a growing demand for participatory platforms. And we are also advocating that, for example, Europeana should take the lead there and deploy participatory softwares. And the InDICEs platform is one example of a software. In fact, the Participate platform of InDICEs is based on Decidim, which is a community participation platform that many smaller and medium-sized cities are using to manage community consultations. That's why it's called Decidim. It's about helping a community to do proposals, to decide together. And on the basis of this software, we made this participatory platform for InDICEs. And we think that will be a trend that we will see, that organizations will move from just the software to manage the content to software to manage the people.
But if I may add something, Fred, what is also very important is that going to digital, digital transformation doesn't mean that, we have to go only on digital, and it's really important to consider the digital tool like a tool, supporting a process, supporting a methodology, and this process and methodology supporting an objective, an aim, and that is very important, because then you or we, because it's the same for us, we have to adapt the tool and the digital strategy and the technological level, let's say, that we want to reach, from very simple technological tools to very advanced ones, both to the strategy we want to achieve and both to the community we want to work with. And this is a very, very important point. So I think that during this design of the strategy, it is really, really important first to clearly identify what you want to achieve and for which communities, because this is the very important point. And also not underestimate the work to be done as moderator, animator of workshop, of long-term process with the communities. And most of the times it means also some physical, first events or workshops, activities, in order to be able then to have a long-term follow-up online. So just wanted to
No, I completely agree that it starts from rethinking your mission. Who are you doing it for? Who do you want to reach? And how can digital tools help for that? Sometimes the solution is not in the digital, and then you should do that. But sometimes it is, and the digital offers you, of course, possibilities to reach to audiences that cannot join physically, or to broaden these perspectives. Again, to give this example of the colonial museums in Belgium, where it allows us to connect to Central African communities and at the same time migrated communities in Belgium. That is something that physically we cannot arrange, but through these means, yes. But then you really need to think, what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? That is certainly so. And it's often the case with ICT. I managed a lot of ICT projects for the university on e-learning, on research support. And implementing an ICT solutions is always an occasion to rethink your processes. To rethink, but what are we doing in fact? And why would we need a tool? And if you don't ask that question, you are just following a hype, and and for example, what I find extremely dangerous is many small organizations think, oh, we need to be on social media. And they rush to social media, but that is a very dangerous adventure.
Yeah, it's so time consuming and
time consuming. It's absolutely dangerous. The slightest mistake, miswording, can lead to abhorrent situations on Twitter and all these things. So I always say, have a plan before you go to Twitter. Think clearly about what are you going to say, who is going to manage it, who is going to respond, how are we going to deal with negative responses, etc. Because if you're not prepared and you jump into Twitter, you will have a very bad experience. That is almost guaranteed. And that is what we are telling to people. Don't jump on the tool. Think clearly, why am I on Twitter? Who am I going to reach there? What do I expect that the reactions will be? And then set for yourself some goals. What do you want to get out of it? And if it doesn't work, take another route. For example, Facebook or Instagram, that's now a discussion in some institutions. For photography, Facebook worked extremely well. So a lot of photo agencies mainly work through Facebook. And it had a reason, namely, Facebook has an emotional idea of family aspect, and photography is totally that. So we saw that there was a huge interest to photographic collections on Facebook, even more than on Instagram, which is meant for photos. And so now it is slightly shifting. But many are still primarily communicating on Facebook because for this niche market of photo agencies, it is still working best. So it's not just, oh, now the hype is Instagram, so I jump to Instagram. No, you need to have good motives to do so. And the same with the reels. So TikTok invented the video reel. And then the people of Instagram thought we need to compete with that. And at a certain moment, they introduced Reels on Instagram. It was an abhorrent experience, really horrible. I was confronted on my Instagram account with a lot of totally useless, badly made short videos. So that think before you do in that market. That is... And I see a role really for these intermediate organizations to do indeed training, train the trainers, train people, do a workshop on Instagram, do a workshop on Twitter, do a workshop on Google Analytics, on OpenRefine, on these kind of things, and that people... What do we see else? Are there still other ideas coming in the... Here we have on the, I will reorganize that a bit. Wait. So, can I move this? how can we let's see. Yeah, Marcia indicates that CHI should be digitized in a more meaningful way. So the problem is indeed that we often see we digitize collections and we add the minimal information. And what we learned in Europeana is that doesn't work. That is why the current interface of Europeana holds a lot of storytelling. You can write short stories, you can make galleries, and it is the stories that lead people to images, but not I'm searching for something and I get a list of photos and I will work with these photos. It doesn't work like this. You find a nice exhibition and that leads you to pictures you want to learn more about and to find similar images. So there is indeed this idea, add meaningful information, and for that you can use crowdsourcing tools. There are a lot of crowdsourcing tools where you can ask the public to contribute information. Crowd Heritage is such a tool. I can maybe paste the link of Crowd Heritage here.
However, what I would like to stress is sorry for my voice because I have a cold. Is the fact that digital cultural heritage institutions should think how to make an effective storytelling. This is the crucial point. I remember during a Mica Culture workshop some years ago, the manager of the Twitter account of Gallica said that one of the most famous tweets of the account was when they published ancient maps of some areas of Paris, and people recognized their own home buildings. They found a way to bring cultural heritage to people. This is what I would like to stress with these two sentences.
Yeah, you know, another example in the same guise is when the Koninklijke Bibliotheek in the Netherlands published collections of photos of Koninginnedag, the Queen's Day. Now it's the King, but it was the Queen's Day. And you could order these photos online, and they thought that people would order a photo of the Queen. But that was the most popular photos were photos from the public. And the reason was the people recognized themselves and their family waiting for the Queen to pass by. So what attracted the audience was, hey, that was my grandfather weaving to the Queen passing by on Queen's Day. But photos of the Queen, that was not what there are enough photos. So indeed, we often misunderstand what the relation is between the audience and a certain photo. And if you can build the right narrative and give the people the tools to self-select and to find what they find important and tell their own stories, and that's why we have these gallery builders in Europeana, etc. And we developed it jointly in projects. That is what works indeed. And so crowdsourcing here, you have crowd heritage. I can also put it.
Yeah. What we've experienced with Europeana collections, for example, is all the collection days about one thematic. For example, very recently we organized one on sport, mixing museums, schools, GLAMs and schools. And then we invited people to publish one images and one text about their own relation to sport, and then it can be on various topics, and that is very successful. And on another project that is related to inclusion, the MEMEX project, we invite some specific communities, migrants women migrants in Barcelona, for example, and to I mean, to tell stories, digital stories, in fact, about the area they live in Barcelona, and mixing images from archives or from Europeana or from national archives or from local GLAMs to places or to stories they want to speak about. And as Fred said, the relation, the very personal relation is very important when we want to reach a community or work with a community, and the same with the young generations. And this is very important because then it speaks to us. I mean, you know, it's a human-centered relation, even if it's with a technical tool.
Yeah, that's indeed, and I can show you how it works. So on Europeana, you can now write your own stories. You can make your own mini collection. And if you see still my screen, because I still think, on my account, you will find images of Mechelen for the simple reason that I come from Mechelen, of course. So the first thing that I did when I ever went to Europeana was look up my own community. And that is what people actually do. It's also what I told to the Commission when we defended common culture for we said it's very important that every child in Europe finds their own community and environment on European heritage sites. It would be very disappointing if you go to Europeana and your village is not there. And that is, it starts with your connection with your life, your place, your family, your surroundings. And indeed, that is what we mean here. Meaningful stories are stories that connect. And so just digitizing, like we did in the beginning, and we just digitized a large collection of images, we put it somewhere, and then it was up to the people to find things. Now, it was also nice, you could search for certain jewels, but if you look at statistics, you will see that people indeed search for things that relate to them. Of course, that's quite evident. Okay, I think, Marco, that unfortunately we are running at the end of this very interesting session. I'll make sure that these results are available. And since we were a limited group, we could discuss, which is even better. Sometimes you do not need a digital tool, and that's always the best situation.
And when the final version, let's say, of the SAT tool is ready, we can then, of course, organize a second session, and then you will test it.
Yeah, because it's important to wait until you can see the results of and how you. But you can already try out the satellite. That is the link that I posted.
Yeah.
That is really available.
I mean, I think it was during the Europeana conference that the satellite was shown and it was used also. And the fact is that already that tool that you can test on the links that you received in the chat, but I'm going to send it to you again. You, after the answers that you give, then you receive, let's say, practical recommendations to actually implement what your situation. So that's, I mean, I think this is the most interesting point of this whole assessing, because it's not just an assessing, and that was the whole purpose of InDICEs, I feel. Not just assessing the situation, but just finding way to improve the situation. Sorry to use the same word again. So that's it.
Yeah, that's indeed the case.
Marta, you have a question?
No, I'm making notes actually.
Okay, I saw your hand raised. Okay.
So this was the link to the satellite, indeed. And you, yes, I forgot all about it. That you get a response when you submit the sections. you get some hints to advice and documents indeed. Good that you mentioned this, Marco.
Yeah, because everything is built in the InDICEs project. Because you have, let's say, the flow is more or less you answer to the satellite or the SATs. It's going to be the SATs one day, and then you have the answers that are linked to the policy recommendations that have been prepared by the project, but also the impact assessment framework that has been created that also gives another point of view. That's let's say it's an ecosystem for just helping cultural institutions to develop their digital strategy, and that it delves into digitization, participations, but other sectors too. So I invite you to have a look at it and to wait for the SATs, the final version.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Fred. And thanks you all. And of course, we stay tuned and we send you the results of the Mentimeter and the link to the InDICEs, etc. And then when it's ready, we will contact you again. And Fred and us, we stay at your disposal for any question.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye to everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.